Today I'm talking about flexible dieting, counting macros, if it fits your macros, etc. Tracking your food is what I'm talking about. I'll start by saying that I use MyFitnessPal. You can set your goals on that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first I wanted to talk about the pros and cons of flexible dieting. So some of the pros, you stop looking at foods as good or bad. So you'll look at some fruit or a cookie, and instead of looking at it as, oh, this one's fruit, it's natural, it has vitamins, or a cookie, which is highly processed junk food, you don't look at one as better than the other. You look at it as macro value. What does it do to your macros? In other words, how many carbs does it have? How many fats does it have? How many proteins does it have? And how does it fit into your day and your dietary goals? So you stop villainizing foods, and in order to make it work for you, in order to still be able to eat the things that you like, you still have to eat balanced. You still have to eat good food. So pros and cons, oftentimes I will choose the less healthy version because it fits, and that's what I want. I told you last night, I don't drink my carbs. I would rather have a cookie. So that's just kind of how it works, and it kind of helps because you stop having like guilty feelings about food because it's functional. So another pro, you, like I said, have to balance more nutritious and less nutritious foods in order to eat the not so good ones. You have to still eat lots of the good ones. It's sustainable if you are a moderator. So if you're that person who can have 2 cookies, and you said you would have 2 cookies and you can stop at 2 cookies, then flexible dieting would be great for you. There's no failing, there's no cheat days. It's just a consistent daily effort in tracking your food. You don't have to eat the same foods every day. You don't have to live out of Tupperware or have a meal plan, reheat all your things. It's helpful to have food already made and ready to grab, but you don't have to feel like you're restricted. You can easily adjust. So if someone randomly says, let's go to lunch, then you can adjust the rest of your day around this lunch that you have, or you can plan a lighter lunch and still meet your goals while being flexible. And basically, because of all of this, it can help you avoid disordered eating. One of the cons is that you tend to eat some lower quality foods over higher quality foods because it fits your macros, and a lot of people can tend to ignore their micronutrients, so your vitamins, your A, your B, your D vitamins, all of those things that you still need that you can get from plant-based foods that you don't get from processed foods. So it's hard to make sure that you hit your macros. Another con is it takes a little while to get the hang of it. It took me 1 to 2 months to really feel like, okay, I got this. At first, it's really time consuming because you have to measure everything and weigh everything. And then after a while, I've been doing this over 2 years, so I really don't have to do much planning, and I can kind of eyeball things, and I kind of know at this point, but it takes a little while to learn. And it's hard to track foods if they're not labeled or if they're not natural. So it can be a challenge sometimes. So those are some pros and cons for you to kind of take and decide what you think about those. Some fast facts about your macros. Every macronutrient, protein, fat, carb, those are macronutrients. Every macronutrient has a calorie value. So when you eat 1 gram of fat, that's 9 calories. So it provides you a lot of energy. And protein and carbs are both 4 calories per gram. So there's some math involved. You have to do your math. A couple of tips. If you're going to do flexible dieting, you need a food scale. You can get one for pretty cheap on Amazon and get it shipped free if you have Prime, but it's vital. Like if you're going to flexible diet and weigh your foods, you have to have a food scale. A lot of times it's more accurate to weigh than to use measuring cups. For example, I was going to have 15 grams of coconut tonight that I was going to toast, and the scale, I was almost at a 1/4 cup and the scale said 15 grams when the bag says a 1/4 cup is 30 grams, and that's not the case. So you definitely want to weigh, because in this case I ended up being able to have more than what I probably would have if I had just used a measuring cup. So you definitely want a food scale. The second tip is to use MyFitnessPal, so set up yourself an account, and we'll go over a few more steps to get started. Okay, you can pay people to do your macros. I can point you in the direction of several people, and one program I actually might sign up with pretty soon is Avatar Nutrition. They'll have you take your measurements and weigh in weekly, and they'll have you put in your activity, your your goals, your physique goals, if you want to drop fat, if you want to gain muscle, whatever it is that you want to do, and they adjust based on your goals and your activity level. And then on your check-ins, like if you've been consistent on your macros and then you check in and you haven't made any progress, then they adjust. So it's all based on a super scientific algorithm. BioLane is the guy to follow on Instagram. He's kind of the pioneer of that program, and he's super smart and awesome and kind of offensive. So just a heads up. So to calculate your own macros, like I said, I can point you in the direction of people who will do it for you. But to start with your own, you want to take your weight and then you multiply that by somewhere between 11 and 14. So if you sit a lot, like you're not very active, like I'm active, but I sit a lot of my day at the office. And then, so 11 would be like the lower end if you're kind of sedentary, and 14 would be like if you have a super fast metabolism, if you're super active, you work construction, those types of things. It's not that important, guys. Don't be like, oh my gosh, do I do a 12 or 13? Like, you can adjust it. Just pick a number from 11 to 14 and multiply your weight. That is your maintenance calories. From there, you subtract a couple of hundred calories. You can do between 1 and 300 that you take off in order to get weight loss calories. And then you add exercise to make up the rest of your deficit. So ideally, you would take off like maybe 200 calories from your maintenance, and then you would burn another 200 from exercise. And then it's a pattern of slow weight loss. About a pound a week is what you're aiming for. The idea is that it's something you can sustain because it's still a decent amount of food that you're eating. You're not on like 1,000 calorie diet. That's a super low calorie diet. So the idea is to eat more and lose weight a little bit more slowly through both diet and exercise. So you set your protein first, okay? I would say if you're just starting, you could go with about 30% of your calories. So take your calories that you just calculated. You have your maintenance, you subtracted 200 to 300. Now take 30% of that, and that's going to be your actual calories. To get your grams of protein, you divide by 4, right? Because it's 4 calories per gram of protein. Then your carbs will be about the same. Depending on your activity level, your fat and carbs will vary, but you can set those at about 30 to 40% depending. If you're a little more active, do like 40% of your calories from carbs, and then now you have your protein and your carbs. Then you can use the remaining calories, divide those by 9, and you'll have your grams of fat. So you want to stick with actual grams, and MyFitnessPal will do that for you if you manually set your calorie goal and set your percentages. So if you were to do 40% carb, 30% protein, 30% fat, it will show you the grams. But again, you can just do the math, right? 40% of your calories would be from carbs, 30% would be for protein, and 30% for fat. And then again, if you want to get the exact grams, you divide by 4, 4, and 9. So for protein, carbs, and fat. And I actually have a worksheet I can send you if you want to do that yourself, but it's not that complicated. Don't make it into a big deal. Put your calories in, set your percentages to 40, 30, 30, and you should be good to go. Again, if you want the exact grams, you can do the math, and I can help you if you need to, but it shouldn't be too bad. So that's how you do the math. I want you, in order to get started, to give yourself about a week to just track. I would say don't be too hard on yourself. Don't be like, I didn't hit my macros. You're not going to. You're not going to. Not when you first start. It's just not going to happen. So just accept that. Give yourself some room. Give yourself some room to fail, and fail forward, and learn. Figure out the macro values of the foods that you like to eat and plug those in. Okay, just give yourself that kind of cushion to learn. Another tip that I have is to plan your treats. So today, for example, was a low carb day, but I still have those cookies I bought yesterday from Sweet Tooth Fairy, so I plugged one in right away. And then I built the rest of my day around that. So that was one of the most helpful tips for me when I learned about macro dieting. Another tip is that you want to prioritize your protein. So plan all your protein for the day. Right? You plug in your dessert, then plan all your protein. My biggest tip is to plan at least 30 grams of protein per meal in order to divide it up depending on what your protein goal is, but it should be pretty substantial since it's 30% of your total calories. So hit your protein. Bottom line, hit your protein. Okay, that's your priority. Next, I would say try and hit your carb and fat goals, but realize that they are interchangeable. So for example, if I were to do some quick math, let's say I want to switch some carbs and fats, right? I have 100 calories left. That would be 25 grams of carbs. Okay, 100 divided by 4. That's how I got that. Now, if you wanted 100 calories of fat instead, you just want a spoonful of peanut butter, dang it, right? Then that would be 11 grams of fat, 100 divided by 9. So you can switch your carbs and your fat. It's not super ideal because you want to be consistent for a while in order to see what your body does as you stick to your macro goals. But hit your protein is the priority, and then you can switch your fat and carbs around on days that you might need to. So realize that that can be adjusted according to the food that you like and what your goals are. Another tip is to use low-calorie foods to add flavor. There's a lot of like sauces, hot sauces, and things that you can use to add flavor. Salsa is super low-calorie. Use those. They'll help you out, and you can add a little bit of flavor. Another tip is that you want to eat most of your carbs, like half of them, ideally, before and after a workout. I'm a hypocrite here. I don't follow my own advice, but you want to eat a lot of your carbs around your workout because that's when your body uses them most quickly and efficiently. So that's when you want to eat your carbs. My final tip is to do your best when you're going out to eat. There's a lot of restaurants that don't have their nutrition information available. You'll learn after a while how to track. So you'll end up breaking a lot of foods down. Like if you were to get tacos somewhere, then you could find 2 6-inch corn tortillas and put those in. And you could find 6 ounces of grilled steak, right? And you could find romaine or iceberg lettuce. Like whatever it is that's in your taco, you can put it in there. Another important tip is to use vegetables to your advantage. And by that, I also mean high volume foods. For example, one time, and only one time because I'm too lazy, but I added cauliflower rice or riced cauliflower. You can buy it like that at Trader Joe's, or you can pulse it in a food processor, just cauliflower, and steam it, and then add that to your oatmeal. And it kind of goes in with it really well. You don't taste it, and then it is so much more volume because there's like no calories in cauliflower. It barely did anything to your carb count, and you're full for longer. So definitely use those high volume foods. You'll realize that like a little tiny treat, like a Dove Promise or whatever, equals a lot of vegetables macro wise. So you'll get to know those things and figure out how to keep yourself full, how to keep yourself nourished. That's where I use Shakeology, is the to kind of fulfill my micronutrient count, because sometimes I just don't eat that well. So use those high volume, high fiber foods to keep yourself full. Find your balance, track your treats. Good to go. Let me know if you guys have questions. This is how I've been living for over 2 years now, so I love it, and I think it's sustainable if you're a moderator, and if you don't mind tracking your foods in order to eat the foods that you want, then you're good to go. This is your golden ticket. So hope to see your comments.